Well, staying in Europe, and Italian voters have delivered a hung parliament, flocking to anti-establishment and far-right parties in record numbers, sending the Eurozone's third-largest economy into political gridlock, Italian style. According to the latest seat projection, a centre-right alliance, including former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia, was seen winning around 37% in the upper house Senate, short of the 40% needed to form a working majority. The Five Star Movement was on track to win around 32% of the vote. Full result, though, is not due for many hours, and previous elections in Italy have seen wild swings as the count proceeds. Well, for more on the election, Sky News business reporter Leo Shanahan joins me alongside Gabriele Abbondanza, researcher and author with the University of Sydney, exactly. Now, Gabriele, first of all, we spoke to you on Friday. This is what you expected?
It is more or less what we expected, but it's a slightly more extreme result than we actually anticipated.
When you say extreme, what do you mean?
Well, if we crunch the numbers...
I shouldn't laugh, but yeah.
If we do crunch the numbers, we can see that about 50% of Italian voters have voted for populist parties. And we didn't expect that number to be so big.
Okay. Yeah.
If we start with the Cinque Stelle movement, Gabriele, first, who have gotten the popular vote up towards 37% maybe, can they form a government? Are they likely to form any coalition? Consistently, they've said they wouldn't. Do you think with this level of success they might reconsider that?
Now, we should tell our viewers we don't have the complete results, but basing on the preliminary results that we have, they are polled at around 33%. So that is a big result, an important result, but it's not enough to form a government.
And generally lower turnout? A lower turnout overall, do you think?
The turnout has been somewhat what we expected. The result of the turnout, on the other hand, hasn't been like that. So the Five Star Movement, the populist party founded by a comedian and run by 31-year-old Di Maio, surely is celebrating, but with that amount of seats in the parliament, it can't form a government by itself, not alone.
So do you think it would reconsider this stance not to form coalitions with the major parties?
Well, they wouldn't call them coalitions, would they? They would probably say that they would discuss with other parties and coalition on specific bills. And that makes a grammatical difference, if you wish. But we also have to ask ourselves how long those cross-party groupings would last.
Yes, yes. What about the Euroscepticism? Is that growing in Italy now? Do you see that in the results?
It has grown a lot, although we have to say that if, on the one hand, the Five Star Movement was a Eurosceptic party up until a year ago, since it's turned institutional, it's ditched that particular part of the program. So the real Eurosceptic party is the Lega Nord, the League, as it's now known, not anymore the Five Star Movement.
Yet the Lega Nord, or the League, their success has been quite dramatic actually this election. Some people are talking about them taking 16% of the popular vote, maybe even higher. They've actually, it's looking like they might have outpolled Forza Italia, Silvio Berlusconi's party. Now this is a really interesting development, because if the central right does form a coalition with some other right-wing parties, could we get a situation where Matteo Salvini becomes the Prime Minister, who's head of the Lega Nord, this more far-right party?
Well, this election is so confusing that, yes, theoretically we could have Matteo Salvini, the leader of the populist far-right party, as the candidate for prime ministership. Although we have to say that everything is now in the hands of the President of the Republic, which, according to the Italian constitution, gets to appoint the prime minister based on a potential majority that he can get in the parliament, because it's a parliamentary republic. So what matters here is the amount of seats in the parliament, and at the moment no party or coalition has the majority.
I mean, you, Leo, you go back to Italy quite regularly. I mean, do you both see this as even more confused for the electorate than normal?
I wouldn't pretend to have Gabriele's insight, but yeah, I mean, it does seem to ironically, you have a situation here where Forza Italia becomes almost a party of stability, and that's what Silvio Berlusconi was selling himself as. Through his years of power, he said, look, Italy should strive toward a Westminster system whereby we have two major parties and a stable government, and I can provide that. And now, even though it was chaotic in its construction, he's come back and sold himself as kind of one of the old men of Europe. And it's ironic that, yes, obviously people are flocking to him, but not just to him, to the other right-wing parties. And I'm interested, what are the other right-wing parties there in this coalition? You've got Lega, Forza Italia. Are there any kind of more dangerous kind of fringe groups in that?
Oh, well, the League is quite on the right side of the political spectrum. Brothers of Italy is more of the same, although it doesn't have the regionalistic aspect of the League, which was called Northern League. And so basically the big surprise here is that in the far right and in the right coalition, the majority partner, the main partner, is now the far right, whereas everybody, including me, of course, thought that the opposite would have occurred. So this is something that, of course, will be reviewed comprehensively while trying to form a majority in the parliament.
And so I remember on Friday he was saying possibly most likely outcome is Antonio Tajani with maybe a grand coalition. He was put forward by Berlusconi as the prime ministerial candidate for Forza Italia. Do you still see that happening?
That was the most likely scenario up until Friday, not anymore. And by that I mean that Antonio Tajani is the moderate candidate, the president of the European Parliament, and more on that, Berlusconi's candidate. So now the specific weight of the Northern League will have to push forward in the coalition. And of course, let's not forget about the five-star movement as well, because they have less votes, but they matter a lot.
And stating the obvious, but the far right, the strength in the far right, that comes from the immigration issues, largely?
That plays a strong role. We know that even according to the UN, Italy has been experiencing the most severe seaborne irregular immigration in the world, and that has been the case since 2014. And this has been poorly managed at the beginning by Italy. Italy has also not been backed by the EU, and then it eventually started managing these strong migration flows. We are talking about an average of 160,000 migrants a year, but it started managing them only in the last year, and this shows in these elections.
Well, it's an extraordinary result, and as you say, it's not over yet. But anyway, Leo Shanahan and Gabriele Abbondanza, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.